Amusement parks are designed with maximum safety measures and maintenance protocols for providing joy, thrills, and unforgettable memories. But sometimes, when safety fails, the consequences are catastrophic. But before we get into it, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more shocking accident breakdowns. Superman, Tower of Power, Kentucky Kingdom, 2007. Kentucky Kingdom is considered one of Louisville's most famous attractions, and it was packed with families on the 21st of June, 2007. They were all here to escape the blazing heat of summer. Among the crowd was 13-year-old Caitlin Lecater, a cheerful and athletic middle school student. She had been eagerly waiting for this day of rides filled with thrill and enjoyment with her family for the past few weeks. Like many other visitors in the park, she was especially excited about the park's most famous attraction, Superman Tower of Power. This is a 177-foot-tall tower named Superman Tower of Power, which is a towering drop ride that dominated the skyline at that time. Riders would sit in a circular gondola that would be secured by over-the-shoulder harnesses, while their legs would hang freely. The ride would lift passengers high above the park, pause briefly at the top to build suspense before the main thrill, and then it would drop them in a controlled freefall. It was designed to deliver an intense feeling of weightlessness. Everything appeared normal as usual, while Caitlin and the other riders were loaded onto this gondola. Operators conducted their routine checks. All the harnesses were secured perfectly, and the ride began its ascending journey. When it reached almost 40 feet above the ground, something unthinkable happened. One of the ride's main steel support cables suddenly snapped due to extreme tension, and the cable recoiled with a violent force. It whipped through the gondola area at a tremendous speed, while several riders were still stuck in there. But Caitlin was the one who suffered the most severe injuries because the steel cable amputated both of her feet above the ankles instantly. Everyone panicked as riders screamed while blood was getting collected beneath Caitlin's seat. She somehow managed to remain conscious and shockingly calm despite her severe injuries. She even asked the operators about her feet and what happened to them. The emergency procedures were immediately activated, and the gondola was carefully lowered to the ground to safely remove every rider from it. Caitlin was quickly taken to the university hospital, where doctors worked their best to save her life, and she survived. After this incident, this ride was instantly shut down and later dismantled entirely for the safety of people. Investigations revealed that the cause of these failures in the cable was due to carelessness in inspection and maintenance procedures. This incident sent shockwaves through the amusement park industry and triggered nationwide reviews of drop tower safety systems. Six Flags Company eventually settled with Caitlin's family. The Superman Tower of Power became one of the most infamous ride failures in modern theme park history. The Big Dipper derailment, Battersea Fun Fair, London 1972. Battersea Fun Fair in London was overflowing with families on the 13th of May 1972. All those families were here to celebrate a holiday weekend. One of this amusement park's most beloved attractions was the Big Dipper. It was a wooden roller coaster that had operated since 1951, and it symbolized the golden age of British seaside entertainment. The Big Dipper was not able to reach speeds like 35 miles per hour because it was not especially fast or modern. It definitely lacked intensity, but it was highly famous for nostalgia. Several generations of families had ridden it without any incident. They trust its familiar wooden structure and well-worn track. However, this trust would ultimately prove fatal for many people. As this fully loaded train crossed its first major hill and entered a banked curve at its maximum speed, a critical section of the main wooden sports structure failed. The timber framework was weakened beyond its limit to bear the load because of decades of exposure to weather conditions. It was further combined with insufficient maintenance, and the track collapsed entirely beneath the speeding train. The front cars derailed immediately, and they plunged into the wooden supports below. Passengers were thrown out of their seats violently as the cars splintered and crashed. 5 people were killed on the spot, and 13 others suffered severe injuries, including broken bones and internal traumas. In the moments following the crash, the confusion of people on the ride was quickly turned into desperation. Survivors who were able to move tried to help those trapped beneath broken beams, while park staff were struggling to understand the scale of what had just happened. The wooden coaster's structure, which was never designed to support fallen train cars, had collapsed in multiple places. It created a tangled mass of splintered timber and twisted steel that made rescue efforts extremely dangerous. Emergency responders were forced to work slowly, cutting through the wreckage by hand to avoid further collapse. Rescue operations started immediately, but the whole scene was chaotic and dangerous as victims were still trapped beneath twisted wood and metal for several hours after the incident. Various investigations were carried out to find the root cause of this accident to avoid such mishaps in the future. It was revealed later in those investigations that severe structural fatigue and a lack of proper inspections caused this failure. The Big Dipper was permanently closed, and the Battersea Fun Fair never reopened after this accident. This tragedy became a defining moment for amusement park regulations in the UK, and it led to stricter inspection and maintenance standards throughout the entire nation. Verrückt Waterslide, Schlitterbahn, Kansas, 2016. On a normal day of August 7, 2016, Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City was buzzing with excitement. Above the park, there stood Verrückt, which was officially recognized as the world's tallest water slide. It was over 168 feet tall. The name, a German word meaning insane, was tragically fitting for this ride. The son of Kansas state legislator Scott Schwab, a 10-year-old boy named Caleb Schwab, was visiting the park on that day with his family. Like many other children in the park, he was strongly drawn to the massive slide that had gained international attention. Verrückt used a 3-person raft system, which relied heavily on precise weight distribution to function properly and safely. Before getting on the ride, riders were weighed, and their combined weight had to fall within a specific range. However, enforcement of these rules was inconsistent in the amusement park. Caleb was sitting at the front of a raft with 2 adult women behind him. The combined weight fell outside the safe range, making this raft dangerously light. After plunging the initial 17-story drop, the raft gained excessive speed, which it should not have. As it crested the second hill, it became airborne. It was something that slide designers knew could happen, and that is why they already installed overhead netting. Tragically, Caleb was thrown upward during this, and he struck the metal support of the safety netting. He suffered fatal head and neck injuries immediately, while the 2 adults were seriously injured, but they both survived. The slide got permanently shut down. Investigations uncovered how ignored safety warnings, flawed engineering, and pressure to open the ride despite known risks cost a young boy's life. Criminal charges were filed against park executives and the designers of the ride. This Verrückt ride was demolished in 2018, as this incident became one of the most disturbing water park tragedies ever recorded. Before we move to the castle fire, don't forget to subscribe for more disturbing human death stories. Haunted Castle Fire. Six Flags Great Adventure, 1984. Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey was experiencing a busy spring evening on May 11, 1984. One of the park's most popular attractions was the Haunted Castle. It was a walk-through maze designed to terrify guests with dark corridors, eerie effects, and costumed actors. The structure was originally intended to be temporary, but it remained in operation for years because of its success. However, it never met permanent building safety codes. Inside this structure, the walls were lined with foam padding and flammable decorations. There was no emergency lighting, no smoke detectors, and no sprinklers, meaning no proper safety protocols. A fire ignited inside one of the foam-padded walls shortly after 6:30 p.m. Within minutes, flames spread rapidly through the entire maze. Thick, toxic smoke filled the narrow corridors of this castle. Visitors initially assumed the smoke was part of the experience to increase the horror. By the time they realized the real danger, exits were already blocked, and visibility was gone. Panic instantly set in, and chaos erupted everywhere. 8 teenagers became trapped inside this fire as they were disoriented by the maze-like layout. They were unable to escape the castle, as it was designed to mislead people and keep them stuck inside this horror structure. All 8 of these children died from smoke inhalation before rescuers could finally reach them. Later investigations revealed that extensive negligence and regulatory failures were the causes behind this catastrophic fire. Criminal charges were filed, and this tragedy led to sweeping reforms in fire safety requirements for all amusement parks across the United States. Orient Express Decapitation, Worlds of Fun, 1981. The Worlds of Fun amusement park was operating under normal conditions on the 7th of June, 1981. It was one of Kansas City's most famous parks, and its signature roller coaster was its pride. This Orient Express roller coaster was a popular high-intensity ride that featured several loops, corkscrews, and high-speed turns. A 20-year-old seasonal maintenance worker named William Hathcote had been assigned its routine inspection duties. Standard safety protocol required rides to be completely shut down during maintenance, with lockout procedures and clear communication between staff to avoid any accidents. All these procedures failed that day, and the reason was never clarified. While the Orient Express was continuously operating, and it was loaded with passengers, William entered a restricted area near the track. He went there for some routine maintenance, but due to some miscommunication between the park staff, the ride was not shut down before he entered that area. As the train rounded a curve at full speed, it struck him with a catastrophic level of force, which resulted in his immediate death on the spot. In the immediate aftermath, both park employees and ride operators were left in complete shock. Many had worked alongside William and were unaware that he had entered the restricted track area. Passengers on the train reported feeling a sudden, violent jolt, followed by an abrupt stop, which made it clear that something had gone terribly wrong. Emergency crews arrived within minutes, but there was nothing that they could do because he was already gone. The park was partially evacuated, as word of the accident spread rapidly among staff and guests. This ride was shut down permanently. This incident triggered reforms related to worker safety in the entire industry of amusement parks. Lockout-tagout procedures, improved training, and stricter communication protocols became mandatory across the nation. These tragedies remind us that behind every thrill ride, there is a huge responsibility to protect human lives. The lessons learned from all these worst amusement accidents reshaped safety standards. But it happened only because the cost was unbearably high. If you liked this video, then do subscribe for more shocking human accident videos.